Welcome to Transformation for Success with Dr. Barbara Young. If you're looking for something more, something different, something better, this is your opportunity. Over the next hour, we'll talk about inspiration for personal and professional success. Now, here is your host, Dr. Barbara Young.
Well, hello there, and I hope you're having a great day. Yes, it is your day for transformation for success, and boy, do I have a great surprise for you today. You are going to hear from Dr. Barbara Young. I am so excited. Number one, I want to share that my new book, Dancing on Broken Legs, Journey of a Diva, which means divinely inspired, victorious with authority, has just been released. It's now on Amazon and it's in Barnes & Noble. And at the end of the show today, I'm going to tell you where you can order that book. But I am so excited today to be able just to talk to you listeners. You know, it's been a while. I'm always interviewing guests on the show about transforming our transformational principles. We're talking about transformation for success. So today I have the opportunity to reach out to you, the listeners, and I want to thank you for listening. Thank all of you for your words and your emails and the letters. Please keep them coming because I really appreciate hearing from you. And I want you to call your friends, tell them Dr. Barbara Young is actually on the show live talking to us today. What I wanted to talk about today is not only just my book that it's called Dancing on Broken Legs, Journey of a Diva, and it really is a book that chronicles my life story, my journey, the good, the bad, the ugly. And we know that all of us, as we're traveling life's journeys, we have many challenges. So today, I want to share with you some of the thoughts that I had as I began to put this book together. And one, it was the challenge of transforming yourself for the success journey. And first, one of the things I want you to know that you were not an accident. You are not mass produced, and you're not an assembly line product. You were deliberately planned, specifically gifted, and lovingly positioned on this earth by the master craftsman. And this is not my comment, it is a quote by Max Lucado. And one of the things that it occurred to me many, many years ago, that I was born to be successful. You were born to be successful. And why is it that we can be challenged to conform to the standards of the world and accept mediocrity, victimism, entering into the blame game, or what I call the woulda, coulda, or shoulda game, when you can step into your destiny, success? You were born to be successful. I realize that success is defined by many people in many different ways. To me, success was having that knowledge of that internal knowledge of knowing that you matter, that you are important. So today, I want to share with you some of the guiding principles of transformational success that changed my life. William James, the noted psychologist, stated that the greatest revolution of our generation is the discovery that human beings, by changing the inner attitudes of their minds, can change the outer aspects of their lives. So one of the principles, the first principles that resonated with me was the freedom of choice. Wow, was I impacted with that knowledge that our first birth gift was the freedom of choice. We are free to choose. And when I grasped this concept and it took root in my very soul, my innermost being, it was awesome. Next to life itself, to me, this was the greatest gift, and that is the power to choose. And as I share with many women and with many men, you know, no one makes us do anything. You and you alone have the power to choose. Interestingly enough, power and freedom stand in contrast to what we hear today, victimism and blame. And you know, the culture of blame is so strong and prevalent in our society, or should I say the world today. We are a product of choice. Now, I know that certainly genes and culture Our upbringing and environment can be very powerful influencers, but ultimately they do not determine our outcomes. I feel powerful today because of grasping that concept of the freedom of choice. You choose. Everything that happens to you is under your control. So I want to tell you today the challenge is to direct your own life. You are the program director. You're not a robot. You are a warm, breathing human being who acts. Animals and robots act, but we make choices based on our values. Your power to choose the direction of your life allows you, yes, to reinvent yourself, to change your future. And choice is the one gift that elevates us and allows us to elevate our lives to higher and higher levels. I learned very early, and I had to look in the mirror and say to myself, you know, you have all the worth you've ever received when you receive the gift of life. And you don't need to compare yourself with others. And I think what freed me was learning and experiencing this internal sense of control that I and I alone have the power to choose my own destiny. No matter what happened to me, I realized that there was that space between what Stephen Covey, who called stimulus and response. That space is wider or narrower depending on the life experiences that you've had over the past. And so, what I had to do as an individual, and I do want to declare that today, yes, I am successful. I've lived a number of years, and I consider myself successful. And that is being successful in the knowledge of knowing who I am, knowing that first principle, the freedom of choice, so that I could choose. I could choose right from wrong. I could choose the people that I wanted to associate with and wanted to be around with. That I could choose. That was just absolutely so powerful. I cannot even explain it. But even if you've lived in horrible or you're going through some horrible circumstances, a job or a husband or a sister or a family member or even your children, you can choose your own responses to the situation. You know, we are dealt many things in life. And I think about sometimes, yes, we've had some things that we've dealt with, the cards that we're dealt with, but the freedom to choose is the response that we have to make to sometimes some really fateful and horrible events that have happened to us. And so, one of the things I did learn that this freedom causes an obligation as well. Each of us is responsible for something to someone. So we use our freedom to act responsibly in the world and we uncover meaning in our lives. The second thing that I had to learn was if we change the inner attitudes of our minds, we can change the outer aspects of our lives. Interestingly enough, in a lot of my seminars and workshops that I've done over many years and all over the world, I've shared with people that you are the average of the five people you spend the most time with. Folks that you're hanging out with are not the ones you want to influence your future because we become like the people we hang out with. So find successful people to be around. Volunteer for leadership positions. Volunteer to serve with people in your church, your synagogue, your temple, or your mosque. Attend lectures and symposia and courses and seminars, clinics and camps and things that are going to expand your mind. You know, I began to think at a later age in my life that I began to say, I will pay any price to stay in the presence of extraordinary people. I want to be surrounded by people who've done it. I wanted to be surrounded by positive people who have a solution approach to life. People who know that they can accomplish whatever they set out to do. And what I found was that many people have such negative attitudes. They don't have a positive approach. and they have a problem approach to life. Everything is a problem. Now, I'm not getting down on you, or I'm not, being judgmental against anyone, but I'm today want to speak from my heart to you out there who are listening today. This was an opportunity for me to be able to share. And one of the few times over the course of the 2 years that I've been able to do the Transformation for Success radio talk show, to be able to share my heart with you listeners. The third most important thing I guess I wanted to share was about confidence and having confidence in yourself. Confidence is contagious. And somebody might ask me, well, how do you achieve confidence? I mean, and what is confidence? It's that ability to know within yourself that you are okay. I'm confident about who I am, what I am, and what I'm about. And so when I had to start talking about staying in the presence of people, not comparing myself to people, I began to find out over the course of years that there are two types of people. There are the anchors and there are the motors. You want to lose the anchors and you want to get with the motors, because the motors are the people that are going somewhere and they're having fun. The anchors will only drag you down. Be selective about the people that you want to hang around with. I tell you at all costs, avoid negative, toxic people. Until you reach the point in your self development where you no longer allow people to affect you with their negativity, you need to avoid toxic people at all cost. You're better off spending time alone than spending time with people who will hold you back with their victim mentality and their mediocre standards. Make a conscious effort every day to surround yourself with positive, nourishing, and uplifting people who believe in you, who encourage you to absolutely push you to go after your dreams and applaud your victories. Surround yourself with possibility thinkers, idealists, and visionaries. The other thing that I learned, acknowledge your positive past, because we tend to remember our failures more than our successes. You know, when I was a young girl, I was zapped when I failed at something, and I received very little praise when I did a good job. And I kept getting zapped, when I messed up, that, it became more emotional intensity around the mistakes and failures rather than my successes. I remember coming home one day with my report card to my mom. I had all A's and I was so excited. And she said, "Oh, that's nice. Hopefully you can help your sister because she got some B's and C's." And so it's kind of interesting. I was a little disappointed because I expected a lot more praise, not the fact that now, you have all these A's, you can help your sister. But actually, the brain tends to remember events that were accompanied by strong emotions. And most people, and even myself, I had to remind myself, and I have often done this, and this might be something you want to do. I had to write down the number of successes that I've had. And then actually, you take that piece of paper and you divide it in half, and you take on one side, on the left side of the paper, you talk about the successes you've had. On the right side, the failures. And as you begin to look, as you take time to do this exercise, you'll find you've had more successes than failures. And sometimes setting the bar too high is what we call success. So I want to share with you about the poker chip theory of self-esteem and success. I want you to keep listening. I want you to remember today is the day that you get a little conversation with Dr. B. And I'm excited to be able to share this with you. today. So I'm going to take a little break and I'm going to come back and I'm going to talk about the poker chip theory of self esteem and success. So stay right there because I'm going to be right back after this quick commercial break. And thank you for listening. This is Dr. Barbara Young, Transformation for Success.
Become our friend on Facebook. Post your thoughts about our shows and network on our timeline. Visit facebook.com/Voice America.
Looking for something new and exciting? It's finally here. Yes, introducing a new internet TV network, Transformation Success, with founder, president, CEO, and Voice America radio talk show host, Dr. Barbara Young. So listeners, you can now see Dr. Young each week on her new show, The Total Woman, along with her co-hosts from around the globe. And there are several channel categories to engage you, such as financial, health and wellness, personal empowerment, music to inspire, inspiration and motivation, career, professional development, and did I mention Dream Connections? This is your personal invitation to view the Transformation Success TV network each week on Fridays for your viewing pleasure at the voiceamerica.tv network.
Have you friended us on Facebook yet? Why not? Just go to facebook.com/Voice America or search for the keywords Voice America. Once you are part of our Facebook network, you'll receive daily messages about what's happening with our shows, this week's featured guests, and new happenings at the Voice America Talk Radio Network. And you can add your voice to the always active discussions on our timeline. Just go to facebook.com/Voice America or search for Voice America.
This is Transformation for Success. To reach Dr. Barbara Young or today's guest, please call into the program at 1-888-346-9141. That's 1-888-346-9141. You may also send an email to info@transformationforsuccess.com. Now, back to this week's program.
Well, hello there, and welcome back to the Transformation for Success show. Oh, yes, you're listening to Dr. Barbara Young today, and I am talking today and sharing with my listeners from my heart today. And this is an opportunity that I have long wanted to do, and that's sort of to speak to my audience out there. So for those of you who are enjoying what I'm saying today or you're taking note, please don't hesitate to write me at Twitter. You can use my Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook. You can contact me, and I'll be happy to respond to any questions that you may have about today's show. And really, I'm talking about transferring yourself for the success journey. So as we went on break, I was talking about the poker chip theory of self-esteem and success. Well, let me talk about this game. First of all, it's 10 chips versus 200 chips. Who's going to play more conservative in this game? All right. Say you have 10 chips and I have 200. So, am I going to be able to play more conservative? Of course. The one with the 10 chips, you lose 2 bets of 5 chips. What? You're out of the game. The person with 200 chips can lose 5 chips 40 times before he or she is out of the game. The person with more chips will take more risk. Now, I don't know how many of you out there may gamble or have been to a casino where you're gambling and you've only have $20. And that person who has $500, what? They can stay in the game longer. They can afford to take more losses. Your level of self-esteem works the same way. The more self-esteem a person has, the more risk they are willing to take. And I know you've probably never thought of it in this particular way. It's called the poker chip theory of self-esteem and success. Research has really shown that the more you acknowledge your past successes, the more confident you become in taking on and successfully accomplishing new ones. So the more self-esteem you have, the more risk you're willing to take. Just that simple. And that's why I said it is so important before we went on break for you to take that piece of paper and to write on the left side all of your successes and on the right side, all of your failures. And you're actually, if you take the time to do this, because one of the things I did find, working on yourself requires work. It's eternal work. And I know if I were to give you a book, uh, and I have done many self-help books for people, and they become what I call shelf-help books because they take them home with very good intentions. And if it's a workbook and asking you to do particular exercises, guess what? They never do them. So I really am encouraging you to really do this exercise. But even if you fail, it will not destroy your self-esteem because your self-esteem is high. And that's what it shows when you begin to look at your past successes versus your failures. It's a simple way to sort of maintain a high level of confidence and self-esteem. So begin with 9 major successes, okay? And divide your life into 3 equal time periods. First, and then the second, and then the final third. Okay, you got 3 equal time periods. And I admire you for doing this, and I'm going to say that because I've done it. Keep a victory log of recalling and writing down your successes each day. Okay, I got up this morning and I spent 5 minutes in meditation. I'm going to write that down as a success because I did it for 5 minutes, not 1 minute, not 2, but my goal was to do it for 5 minutes. A second success for me was after lunch, was to take a little walk. I'm to take a walk, a half a block, or maybe 2 blocks, a block or 2 blocks. Well, I made the 2 blocks. That's a second success. And so you keep this victory log of your successes every day. And what do we do when we have successes or when your children or relatives, they experience successes? We surround them or we give them pictures, we give them a plaque, we have some sort of a reward or some object that reminds them of their successes. And that's why I think it's so important with children, even with adults, to reward them, to give them something to remind them of a success that they have achieved. That is so important. And reward yourself, because sometimes I've had, I made a goal. I wanted to get my doctorate in 3 years. It was a program it was a 3-year program, but there were many people who didn't complete the 3-year program, but I completed it in 3 years, wrote my dissertation in 8 months because I was in a hurry. I rewarded myself with a trip out of the country, but I kept that goal in mind that if I complete this, this is what I will reward myself with. If I didn't complete that goal, no reward. And that is actually how I pursued my education throughout getting my BA, my master's, and the PhD, was I set up a reward system for myself to honor and to celebrate my successes. Now, I'm going to give you one other exercise that I think that will really help. Also, again, we're transforming ourselves for the success journey. And this is what I call the mirror exercise. Every night, whether you're male or female, just before you go to bed, many of us, we wash our faces, we brush our teeth. This will give your subconscious mind the positive strokes that it needs, and that's the whole objective. It will help you to change any negative beliefs you have towards praise and accomplishment. And I'd like you to do this for a minimum of 2 months. Now, I know that sounds like a long term, but I know you can do it. Just before going to bed, you've brushed your teeth, and sometimes we brush your teeth when we're not even looking at ourselves. So stand and sit in front of a mirror and just appreciate yourself for all that you have accomplished during the day. Look at your mirror image. Address yourself by name and begin appreciating yourself out loud for any achievements or any personal discipline you have kept, any temptations that you didn't give into. I didn't have that cookie for lunch, or I didn't have that great dessert I wanted, or I didn't have that that wine or whatever it was during lunch. I didn't lie about a certain thing or watching too much TV, staying up late, whatever it is, whatever personal disciplines that you have kept, look in that mirror, address yourself by name, and begin appreciating yourself. Every night, keep your eye on the prize. The prize is you. Because it's so easy to be unmotivated and negative, and even negative about yourself. But it takes some work to be positive and motivated. You know, I hate to tell you this, but there are no off buttons for those relentless tapes that, you sometimes there are things that you can do to turn down the volume and shift your focus from the negative to the positive. So I want you to begin to practice this aloud because I think it does a lot. It did a lot for me. I'm not telling you things that I didn't do. These are my secrets. These are some of my trade secrets of actually appreciating and looking and developing that self-confidence that is so needed that when you walk in the room, it exudes. But it's not because you feel that you're any better than anybody else or you're competing with anybody else because you need to stay in your own lane, recognizing that you are special. As I started the show, I said, you are special. You are significant. You weren't mass produced in some assembly line. You were uniquely created to look exactly the way you look by the master craftsman himself. You are special. So keep your eye on the prize. You are the prize. So maintain this positive focus no matter what's going on around you. Stay focused on the next action steps that you need to take to get you closer to the fulfillment of your success goals. And here's another exercise for you about that mirror is to put the goals that you want to achieve on that mirror. I had them in my car. I had a little 3x5 postcard. I had it on my mirror in the bathroom. I still do. I had it on my dashboard in my car. I had it on my computer at work to remind me of my focus, to keep me focused. And when I began to get off track, I was always there, that reminder. Sometimes when I was trying to be very careful about what I'd eat, I'd have it on the refrigerator. Sometimes I'd open the door and have it in the refrigerator as a reminder, keeping your eye on the prize. So the mirror exercise, again, it gives your subconscious mind the positive strokes it needs, and it will help you to change any negative beliefs that you have towards praise and accomplishment. And do this again, I would say a minimum of 2 months, and try it just a step at a time. If you miss a day, that's okay. Go back to it, maintaining a positive focus on whatever is going around you. Today, we are in a negative, somewhat toxic environment with a bombardment of negativity. We turn on the news, there's negativity. And we look at movies that have violence, there's a lot of negativity. You want to stay focused on what's positive and what's meaning for you. There are many characters and detractors who want to take you off the mark. So you have to take action to become completely, constantly proactive in the pursuit of your chosen objectives. And I know none of us can change our yesterdays, but all of us can change our tomorrows. I have another step. That step, clean up your messes and your incompletes. How many of you have some messes and some incompletes that you need to get rid of? Well, I had what I developed, and I call this my DPSCF program. Now, that sounds a big, big acronym. DPSCFC plan. How many of us have never completed a project, or even like myself, and I'll be very transparent, I did not finish my BA. I was 15 when I went to college. and stopped out at 17. I did not go back to college until I was 36 years of age. But all of that time, I felt like I was an incomplete. So I know many of you out there, maybe you started a diet, you didn't complete it. It could be a number of things that you started and you didn't complete, and you feel like an incomplete. Well, the first thing I decided I had to let go of the past to embrace the future. Some of us live in the past. Keep living in the past. There is no present, and definitely there will be no future. So I had to let go of that and embrace my future, design my future. And sometimes I remember reading the book by Jack Canfield, and he says sometimes we need the total truth process. Total truth process is simply absolutely making up your mind to write that letter and decide to write the total truth letter, which means I had to write a letter to people that I had held unforgiveness. I held them, because I was blaming things that happened to me, why I stopped out of college, and blaming, when I really actually, I call it the name it, blame it game. And it always is outside. It's somebody else, my aunt, or it was my mother, it was my father. I was abused. This happened to me. And it was always outside, but never looking at deciding. My deciding was to plan, to start, to continue, finish, and complete. That was my DPSCFC plan. Decide, plan, start, continue, tell my story. I tell you, I had to tell my story of being that incomplete person. So I'm going to repeat that again. The DPSCFC plan. Decide, plan, continue, finish, and complete. That was a wonderful experience for me. And the first thing I had to do was to forgive Barbara. I had to forgive myself. So it can be done. I did it. Wrote the total truth letter. Forgave everybody I needed to do. Forgive and move on. So if you're hanging on something out there, whoever and whatever it is will occupy rent-free space in your mind. And that was Isabel Holland who coined that phrase, and I love her for doing that. No one is going to occupy rent-free space in my mind. So let's forgive and move on. And you know what? I'm going to take a quick break, and I'm going to be right back as I conclude my sharing today, transforming yourself for the success journey. Thank you for listening.
Become our friend on Facebook. Post your thoughts about our shows and network on our timeline. Visit facebook.com/Voice America.
Looking for something new and exciting? It's finally here. Yes, introducing a new internet TV network, Transformation Success, with founder, president, CEO, and Voice America radio talk show host, Dr. Barbara Young. So listeners, you can now see Dr. Young each week on her new show, The Total Woman, along with her co-hosts from around the globe. And there are several channel categories to engage you, such as financial, health and wellness, personal empowerment, music to inspire, inspiration and motivation, career, professional development, and did I mention Dream Connections? This is your personal invitation to view the Transformation Success TV network each week on Fridays for your viewing pleasure at the voiceamerica.tv network.
Have you friended us on Facebook yet? Why not? Just go to facebook.com/Voice America or search for the keywords Voice America. Once you are part of our Facebook network, you'll receive daily messages about what's happening with our shows, this week's featured guests, and new happenings at the Voice America Talk Radio Network. And you can add your voice to the always active discussions on our timeline. Just go to facebook.com/Voice America or search for Voice America.
This is Transformation for Success. To reach Dr. Barbara Young or today's guest, please call into the program at 1-888-346-9141. That's 1-888-346-9141. You may also send an email to info@transformationforsuccess.com. Now, back to this week's program.
Hello there, this is Dr. Barbara Young, and I'm back again with Transforming Yourself for the Success Journey. And I hope that you're enjoying what you're listening to today, because I have this opportunity to share with you some of the things on my heart and a little bit more about who Dr. Barbara Young is. I'm first going to go back and sort of repeat what I said earlier about my new book that's out called Dancing on Broken Legs, Journey of a Diva, which means divinely inspired, victorious with authority. This book can be ordered on Amazon.com or Barnes & Noble. And I want to encourage all of you to order this book, or you can write me or email me at info@transformationforsuccess.com, and I'll be happy to send you a link where you can order this book. Absolutely, this is a powerful book that contains my life lessons and the spiritual principles that I learned and successfully practiced over the years. And what I share in this book is how I want to really, really be that transparent individual to share the vignettes of my life's journey, that you will be inspired, informed, and ready to use some of the life-giving principles that I share in this book. One of the things that I talk about is you've got to know who you are, and you have to take control of your life. And as I have waxed on today about discovering the power of choice and how it is yours, the choices that you make determine your future. And you too can dance on broken legs. All of us are dancing on our journeys. So as I get back to talking about my DPSCF plan, that's a big acronym, and I'll say it again. It's the DPSCFC plan, and it's deciding, plan, start, continue, finish, and complete. We need to let go of the past to embrace the future, and I talked about that earlier, and using the total truth process that was coined by Jack Canfield, and that really is writing that letter about or to anyone who has hurt you in the past. Write everything that's ever occurred. I mean, you write it out. I tell you, it really works. Write the letter, say everything you want to say to that individual, and then read it aloud, lift it up to the Creator, and then say, I release this to the universe. And then you can burn it, or you can tear it up and flush it down the you know what, and forgive and move on. And most importantly, forgive yourself. Although it may seem for many people for me to talk, and I've done this many times, and I'll say, Dr. Young, you're talking about forgiveness. You have no idea what I've gone through. But the reality is that the anger, the resentment, the desire for revenge, it just wastes your valuable energy that you could direct towards more positive, goal-directed actions that are going to help you become successful. And what I also talk about is this kind of activity, if you continue to engage in it, causes what I call cancer of the soul. Cancer cells, as we know, metastasize. There are some emotional cancers that metastasize their cells into relationships and through sometimes an entire culture of an organization. How many of you know you're in an organization where there's so much turmoil and trouble and bickering that it has absolutely permeated the whole organization and climate and environment? You don't even want to go to work. So one of the things that I determined was criticizing, complaining, comparing, competing, and contending are all 5 cancerous behaviors. And that's something that Stephen Covey pointed out. Criticizing, complaining. Know anybody like that? They're always criticizing. They're always complaining. They're comparing themselves to others, or they're competing, or they're contending. These are cancerous behaviors. And so I often tell people, check yourself for these kinds of behaviors. Do what I call is a check for cancer of the soul. One of the things that And again, I reiterate, you really do need to check yourselves on that. And many people tell me, Dr. Young, you just have no idea what I've gone through. You say to me, let go. It's hard. It's hard. I know. But I know after processing and when you begin to look at each experience that you have, I learned I had to forgive the other party. And I remember Nelson Mandela once had said, resentment is like drinking poison, hoping that your enemies will die from it. That was kind of an eye opener of let go. Miracles happen when you truly forgive people and move on, and they will happen in your life. I also tell people about a forgiveness affirmation that I wrote some years ago that and I'm going to say it out loud. I release myself from all the demands and judgments that have kept me limited. I allow myself to go free, to live in joy and love and peace. I allow myself to create fulfilling relationships, to have success in my life, to experience pleasure, to know that I am worthy and deserve to have what I want. I now go free. I release all others from any demands and expectations that I may have placed on them. I choose to be free. I allow others to be free. I forgive myself and I forgive them. And so it is. You can transcend and you can triumph too. My last point today is embrace change. I say to some of you out there who are experiencing what we call FEAR, false evidence appearing real, because you don't want to change, you don't want to move. Change is the law of life. And those who look only to the past or present are certainly to miss the future. That was John F. Kennedy who said that. Change is inevitable. At this moment, your body and your cells are changing. The earth is changing. The economy is changing. Technology is changing. How we do business is changing. And God knows how we communicate is changing. Every day, things are changing. You can cooperate with the change, and that's a choice. Adapt to it and benefit from it. I like the phrase, grow or die. Now, we're not talking about a physical death. We're talking about an emotional, a physical, and spiritual death as well. So, flourish and change. Think back to the changes in your life. And I was thinking about when I thought it was the worst thing in the world. When we went from typewriters, and tell my age a little bit, we went from typewriters to computers. And I was furious because that was such a big change. And I remember all of the people were upset in the unit. And I was working at a corporation at the time, and we were going from typewriters to these new computers. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. We thought it was the worst thing in the world. But when we surrendered to the change and found it was the best thing, it was so expedient. It was so much more helpful. By gosh, you even had spell check. Oh, wow. So did our lives actually improve? Yes, they did. So what can you look back now and say about change and the changes that happened and occurred? Were they eventually good for you? Think about it. So anyway, embrace change. It happens. Embrace it. One of my other points is self-talk. This is my last point as I close today. The average person, according to research, talks to himself about 50,000 times a day. And most of that self-talk is about yourself. And according to psychological researchers, it's about 80% negative. This script that plays in your head, they don't like me, I'm never going to be able to pull this off, I don't like the way my hair looks today, that other team is going to kill us, I can't dance, oh, I'm not a speaker, I'll never lose this weight. Argue for your limitations, and sure enough, they're yours. So thoughts have powerful effects on us. Watch your self-talk because it affects your attitude, it affects your physiology, and it affects your motivation to act. Most importantly, you are today where your thoughts have brought you, and you'll be tomorrow where your thoughts will take you. And as the good book says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And the most important thing that Proverbs says, the power of life and death is in the tongue. So the self-talk, make it positive self-talk about yourself. And I never, ever say I can't. Say I will or I won't, because you can do anything that you set your mind to. So I am so excited that I've been able to share today a little bit of my heart, because again, you are today where your thoughts have brought you, and you're going to be tomorrow where your thoughts will take you. Become a negative thought watcher and stop those ants. Stop those ANTS. And what they are? Automatic negative thoughts. Shake them off. Become aware of them and stomp them out by challenging them. And keep replacing them with affirmative thoughts. I remember I used this technique and I did it for 7 days. Every time a negative thought entered my mind, I'd counter it with speaking a positive, affirmative thought. Because you can control your thoughts. Believe me, you can become what I call the mind keeper. So ultimately, remember, you are in charge. You are important. And so I want you to remember some of the things I've talked about today, put them into action, say out loud, you're worthy, and I want you to keep on remembering that you matter. Now, I have something else I want to share with you. One of the things that I really thought about this, and that was about self-awareness. I started out writing a book about that you've got to know who you are. And you have to know who you are. You have to love who you are. And that's another mirror exercise. When you're brushing your teeth and you look in the mirror, say, I love me. I love who I am. And keep emphasizing that I am important. I matter. And it's not about being better or one-ups against somebody else, but it's acknowledging that I love me. And I think one of the things is that self-examination, looking at the groundwork and laying that groundwork for insight within yourself. Because the real challenge and real problem solving starts with you. I don't care how many people you may go to and pay all that money to a psychiatrist or psychologist. The answers are within you. And I often like to say, a leader must first travel within, or any individual must first travel within before he or she can travel without. So become a self-master and transform yourself for the journey of success. Ralph Waldo Emerson, the noted poet, states, enthusiasm is one of the most powerful engines of success. When you do a thing, do it with all your might. Put your whole soul into it. Stamp it with your own personality. Be active, be energetic, be enthusiastic and faithful, and you will accomplish your object. Nothing great was ever achieved without enthusiasm. So whatever you do, fuel your life with passion and enthusiasm and perseverance, and you're already a success. Even if you never hit the big time, who cares? You were having fun doing what you loved all the time anyway. So people want to play with you, work with you, and support your dreams and goals. So I want you to be happy, be successful, and be forever transformed for a success journey. And thank you for listening. This is Dr. Barbara Young, your transformation success coach today. Have a very, very blessed week. Love you all. God bless you.
We appreciate you joining us for Transformation for Success. Please join your host, Dr. Barbara Young, again next Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 12 noon Pacific Time on the Voice America Empowerment Channel. Or join us for our replay every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time and 12 noon Pacific Time on the Voice America Women's Channel. Have an outstanding week.